We want to welcome you tonight to this really beautiful event. And we're welcoming you on behalf of IFCO, Pastors for Peace, and the staff and the board of IFCO. This evening, as you know, is dedicated to the memory of our beloved founder, Reverend Lucius Walker, and the individuals and all of the institutions that we are here to honor tonight. And that will be represented in those that we have selected to be honored. Lucius Walker was not only IFCO's founding director, but he was a community activist, a pastor, a social worker in the fight for social justice, and human rights. Human rights. We have established this award in his name as a way to keep his memory alive and to celebrate the bold efforts of those individuals and institutions that represent multiple sectors of our community, and those individuals and institutions that continue to serve as an example of strength in the fight for justice and human rights. At this time, I would like to introduce you two members of our board, Dr. William Sales, Bill Sales, as everybody knows him, and Reverend Joe Barnes, Joseph Barnes, and we all call him Joe. And they will do the honors of introducing the work and of making a tribute to another one of our board members that we lost earlier this year, Bill and Joe.
We're here tonight to honor the legacy of Lucius Walker. But nobody, even a person like Lucius, can do what he did and achieve what he achieved by himself. And one of his closest associates for the last several decades was Reverend Tom Smith. Tom worked on both ends of our program here in the United States and in our various caravans to Cuba. He was a minister or pastor of a different type, maybe even a new type. You know? He was a person who was not a preachy guy, but you talked to him a whole lot and you learned a whole lot from him. And I was so impressed when I saw him in action. And what inaction means when you're on a caravan to Cuba, it means traveling across a dangerous frontier, through a dangerous country, and representing the best of what our country has to offer to people who need it. And Tom would have been with us tonight, but he was taken away too soon. And one last thing I'd like to say about Tom, not just his legacy, but that the board of IFCO realized that we were almost like on that board for life. You know, that some of us were already octogenarian and some were approaching that status. And that like our larger movement, right, the people that made the history of the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and even beyond, we're passing from the scene, right? And we have to pass that baton on, you know? And we have to hope that we have people who are going to take it, who are as good as Reverend Tom Smith was. We all miss him, but I'm hopeful that there's a generation that's coming behind that's going to take us way, way far into a better future. And here is Joe Barnes, who's been there on that board longer than any of us now, I would say. Yeah. And we're both cycling off the board. This is our last official annual representation here. We'll be going off on the 31st, but we will not be gone because we're constituting an advisory board and because IFCO really needs good advice. We need good ideas, and above all, we need good fundraisers, you know? So we'll be gone, but certainly not forgotten. And Joe, so, tell us your cut on
Good evening.
on Tom.
It's an honor to be able to lift up the name of Tom Smith. I met Tom so long ago, I don't remember when, sometime in the 90s, he was a pastor in Pittsburgh. And I was honored to be part of an anti-racism training team that did a workshop there for him and for the ecumenical community there. And then when I became member of the board of IFCO, was greeted by Tom as the president of the board. Tom just did so much work, did so much representation here and in Cuba, as you mentioned, Bill. Was such a great leader and was such a teacher to me, and I just want to honor his name. I wanted to say that one other thing, and that is that just before Tom died a few months ago, Tom made phone calls, and he called people that he wanted to say goodbye to. And he was in the other end of the call. He said, "Joe, I'm out of here." And we talked for a while, and he just thanked me for being a friend, and I thanked him for all the work he did in IFCO and the Cuba work, and I just want to say tonight that we should join together in honoring the great name of one who is now with the ancestors, but who has been one of our great leaders, along with Lucius and others, to do the work of alliance with Cuba. Thank you.
I have the honor of presenting our first award for the evening. I won't date myself, and I won't date her either. We met many, many years ago doing work around Palestine. There was an organization here in New York City called the Palestine Solidarity Committee, and there were many of us who recognized what was happening in Palestine as a result of our political work in other movements. And so it was at that time that I met this incredible sister who taught me so much. And tonight we are honored to ask to come forward Palestinian activist and professor who has been under attack for speaking out against anti-Arab discrimination. We honor her for helping to facilitate greater understanding of the unjust abuses that the people of Palestine and the Palestinian diaspora have had to endure due to the decades of occupation. We want to honor tonight our sister Rabab Abdullah Hadi with the Lucius Walker Community Organizing Award. So Rabab, would you come forward? Yep, so let me I'm so nervous, IFCO Pastors for Peace, organizing for justice since 1967. Presented to Rabab Abdullah Hadi, PhD, for promoting greater understanding of the unjust abuses against the Palestinian people. With deepest appreciation, the Intereligious Foundation for Community Organizations, August 26, 2019.
Thank you, Rosemary. I begin by honoring the indigenous people on whose stolen land we meet here today, and the spirit of ancestors who are with us today. I'm really honored. You cannot believe how honored I am, because I come here and this is where I grew. This is where I became an activist. In the spaces in Harlem, in Brooklyn, at Harriet Tubman High School, at Casa de las Americas, at various spaces that we've had all these events. And we were welcomed as Palestinians. We were not turned away. These are the spaces that welcomed us, that had us speak and discuss, where people came from all sorts of parts of the world were struggling. I came to New York at the end of 1982, and it was right after the Israeli invasion of Lebanon. And one of the first groups I met was people who were involved in the November 29th Coalition for Palestine, named after the International Day of Solidarity with the people of Palestine, November 29th, named after the United Nations partition of Palestine in 1947, after which Israel was founded. Almost 1 million Palestinians were dispossessed and displaced, and the occupation colonization continued. In 1982, I came to learn from people who were organizing here. I've met people, some of which who have passed on, like Reverend Pastor Lucius Walker, Elam Bebrath, Samori Marksman, Queen Mother Moore, people who were every single day everywhere around Palestinian organizations, at demonstrations. I've met people who were struggling for Haiti. I met people who were struggling against the occupation of Grenada, the U.S. occupation of Grenada. It immediately happened right after the Israeli occupation of Lebanon, right? There were people from Cuba. There were people from Namibia, from South Africa, Angola, and always we went and met at 1199. We met at Martin Luther King School. We met at Casa de las Americas. This is where the people came together, from singers like Roy Brand to Seshaba singers. You know all the people who were there. Reverend Kirkpatrick. Do people remember Reverend Kirkpatrick? Do people remember him? These people have been around all the time, and they taught us. And also my sister Rosemary Mealy, who was the UN representative of the National Alliance of Third World Journalists. Sam Anderson, who was one of the founder of SNCC, and last week we were actually in North Carolina. We visited Shaw University, from which Reverend Lucius Walker graduated. We visited where SNCC organized. We went to the site of the Greensboro massacre. We went to the site of the lunch counters at Woolworth, where the students sat down and said, we will boycott until justice is achieved. We will boycott, we will resist. We tried to go to the Lumbi indigenous community, which fought the clans and defeated them. And the reason I'm mentioning all of this stuff is that the attacks now are really strong against us. White supremacy is rampant. And it's not only coming from the White House. It's coming from all quarters, from the administration, from Congress, from different places. But we are making achievements. Things are changing. The tide is turning. We as Palestinians sometimes are the barometer, because we tend to be the weakest link, according to the US administration, that they think if they attack us, they can go and attack everybody else. They've tried again and again. But we are united with all huge movement of people on the grassroots that's making things change, including even the halls of Congress. And I'm not talking about the people who are actually selling us right and left. I'm talking about people like the Squad. I'm talking about Elijah Cummings. I'm talking about people who are questioning day in and day out and actually being vilified and smeared by the likes of somebody who has never read a book. I mean, and this is why we are attacked in the academy, because we are doing something very dangerous. We are still continuing the same legacy that our ancestors have started of decolonizing the mind, of speaking truth to power, of speaking doing what we are supposed to do. And we are educating and we are organizing. We don't do one without the other. And we don't only do online organizing, we do organizing face to face. We meet with people, we come every single day. And no matter how much they smear, no matter how many death threats we receive, and I've received my share, no matter how much they try to shut down our programs, no matter how much they try to silence us, no matter how much they try to exceptionalize Palestine and make it separate, we say no. We are part and parcel of the movement for justice all over the world, for national liberation, for human rights, for questions of equity and labor fairness, for health care for all, for free education, for housing over our heads, for ending the prison industrial complex, for dividing justice with everybody, for stopping police brutality and holding people accountable. This is what we are part of. We are part of something called the indivisibility of justice. We're not going away. We are here. We will continue struggling, inspired by all of you, inspired by Reverend Lucius Walker, inspired by the people who are organizing IFCO, Pastors for Peace, Lucius Walker said that he is inspired by the Jesus of justice. And that is really important. And I'm saying this because we just came back from North Carolina, where the Department of Education, headed by Betty DeVos, and a racist Zionist man called Kenneth Marcus, are trying to shut down the Middle East Consortium and saying that the syllabus, the curriculum, is not doing enough for Christianity and Judaism, forgetting what Christianity actually and Jesus Christ was all about: justice and fairness for all. They are forgetting about that, and they're misusing the anti-Semitism. They are misusing Judaism in order to deliver things that are vile, that are vilifying, to stop the education for all. Two more things I want. One is that we need to remember that anti-Semitism did not really start in the 18th century. It started before 1492, when a certain empire tried to build its coffers by actually vilifying Muslims and Jews, forcing them to convert, misusing what Christianity was all about, in order to send a man on an adventure who got lost, by the way. That's why it's called West Indies, actually, because he got lost. He was trying to compete with the British Empire. And there is a connection between 1492 and the genocide of the indigenous populations here, and the kidnapping and the enslavement of people from Africa, and Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. And we really need to remember this, that there were times when people lived together and fought together and survived together. And the Zionist garbage about Muslims and Arabs and Jews fighting from time immemorial is not true. It's actually, in factual, exactly the same stuff that's coming from the White House. So we are here, inspired by Lucius Walker, commemorating his memory, talking about his resting in power, and staying with us as well as the rest of our ancestors. We're not going away. We're fighting with all of you. Thank you all for having me here. Thank you all for having us. Free Palestine, free all, justice for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, those were inspiring words. Thank you, Rabab. We don't need to hear it. I can just turn around now and go straight home. Okay. But we have other people that we want to honor tonight. At this time, I'd like to call such a passionate person who is the mainstay of IFCO, a volunteer who comes in every day, a volunteer who comes in every day. Can you imagine that? She travels from Brooklyn to IFCO, Blue, up and down. Have you ever been to our building? 4 flights of stairs. 4 flights of stairs. It's always Emily. You go to, Emily is the go-to person. So at this point, I would like to ask Emily to come forward, lovely Emily, to come forward for the next presentation.
Yeah, my line is that I tried to retire and I failed. But I'm going to call up somebody else who has done just as bad a job as retiring from the struggle as I have. So Elaine, come on up here. Elaine Babian, we can call her a longtime community activist, a longtime IFCO supporter. When I started as a staff person, now 1993, there was Elaine, and together, as a volunteer, she was there almost every day. And she is a person who personifies for me the kind of people that make the movement work. You know, we have the charismatic leaders, Lucius, yes. Others, we just heard one. But there has to be somebody to answer the phone and mail the envelopes and do the work that makes the movement happen. And Elaine has been one of those people. And we honor her tonight. And we honor her because she's deserved it. But we also honor all of the worker bees, all of the people that do the work that makes the thing happen. Because That's who we are. That's who we in this room are. That's what we know is what organizing is. And I also want to announce that IFCO started the Elaine Babian Legacy Fund. Now, this is not a fund for people that have big bucks, although we're not going to discriminate. But it's a fund honoring Elaine and the people in her footsteps that have continued throughout their lifetime to make the movement happen. And we need to honor that. And so I'm very, very proud tonight to be able to. So come up here, hon.
Okay, I'm coming. So you talk about Lucius. I knew Lucius. I worked with Lucius for over 20 years. Caravan after caravan. We'd meet in the halls, we'd talk. I mean, this was a privilege. So whatever you say about honoring me, nothing could honor me more than having had that relationship. He's taught me, he's taught us all. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Emily about it. She said, you remember what Lucius said. He was something that we needed, and he was there. He was gentle, and he was strong. And he had a tremendous capacity to understand all the horrors we live in this society and how we to handle it. Anyway, I knew Lou, and that's one of the proudest things in my life, for 20 years. We traveled together, we talked together, I adored him, and I'm a very strong atheist, and he was a very strong believer in God. But he always used to say, you and I are like this, Elaine. I end here, and then Lou goes on. So it's been one of the joys of my life to have known him that well.
So, we're giving to Elaine Babian for a lifetime of service in the pursuit of social justice with deepest appreciation.
Thank you, darling.
Okay, let's give them both.
Oh, I got to make one last pitch. When I said we're announcing a fund, you're going to hear more about it.
Okay. Watch the Cuba Buzz. If you're not on the mailing list for the Cuba Buzz, make sure you let Emily know that. I guess most of you know that IFCO Pastors for Peace, a couple of years ago, the Internal Revenue came at us really hard and we lost our 501(c) status. We still don't have it back. We still don't have it back. But our attorney told us yesterday that we're continuing to try to get information on why information is being held up and we're not being advised. We think that it has a lot to do with this administration. So at some point you're going to be hearing from us that we need to have a campaign demanding that the IRS responds to us and restore our right to be a nonprofit organization, because at this point, as you know, we're passed through another organization, and we want to be able to come back and support those organizations that we were supporting before. We think we have a right to, and the reason people say, well, why were you, what happened? It's because of the work that we have been doing, Because we've been silent on it, some of you may think that we have our status back, but we don't have it at this point. All right, just a little information, throwing that in to let you know. And next, this is a very important award, as all of them are coming up. And at this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Sapphire Ahmed and Dr. Maxine Ortiz to come up and to present the next award to a very special person out of a very special program that we are honored to be sponsoring.
Good evening. Peace and blessings. I'm Dr. Sapphire Ahmed, one of the members of IFCO's medical committee, along with my colleague and friend, Dr. Maxine Ortiz. I am going to introduce you a little bit to a Dr. Sitimbeli Sales. She was born in Manhattan. Dr. Sales grew up in Harlem, New York, and later moved to Poughkeepsie, New York. Pigskill, New York. She always excelled in math and science and knew at a young age that she wanted to practice medicine after shadowing a pediatrician at Morrisania Teens Clinic in the Bronx, in the hood. She completed her undergraduate studies at Xavier University in New Orleans, a historical black college known for putting the highest number of African Americans in medical school. She became aware of Elam when Cuba President, the Honorable Fidel Castro, announced a newly funded medical school scholarship program that was to be given to the economically underserved who would come back to the United States, but who would train and get free training in Cuba.
This program, which everybody knows about, tried to look for candidates to become real doctors. Sitambile is one of those real doctors. She came back, she did her steps, she did a hard residency, and she now is working at a Union Health Center. Medical, and your clinic, medical clinic that serves 11,000 patients, and the majority of which are members of 32BJ and SIAU. Sorry. Sitambile, as we know her, is one of our stars because she is what we consider why we're in this program, why Cuba has offered us these scholarships. So, Dr. Sales, for your selfless commitment to provide urgently needed health care for the underserved with deepest appreciation, IFCO.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I also just want to acknowledge we have two other doctors and graduates from the program, Dr. Aida and Dr. Francis, right here. That's right. That's right. Okay, I'm truly flattered and honored to be recognized here tonight. Thanks to all of you for the consideration. I stand here representing all of the United States delegations at Elam who have embarked on the revolutionary path of struggling to become a doctor to the peoples. While the work that I do is challenging and too often near overwhelming in this belly of the beast, it has had and continues to have an impact on the lives of people who would otherwise have no sympathetic and effective health care. It is moments like these that are so important for us all, when we can come together and reinforce each other and rededicate ourselves to the importance of the work that I and my compañeros do. I want to say thank you to our ancestors in struggle, particularly Reverend Lucius Walker. And Comandante Jefe Fidel Castro. Viva! To those who still struggle with us, my greetings and thanks go out to IFCO and its directors, Gail Walker and Reverend Luis Barrios. And a special thanks to Dr. Melissa Barber for staying the course. Yeah. Yeah. For staying the course with responsibilities that were often near impossible to meet. To the people of Cuba, its president, Miguel Díaz-Canel, and the Cuban Ministry of Health, we say thank you, and we will stand with you until the blockade is defeated. I want to thank Dr. Del Toro and the staff and doctors at Wyckoff Hospital for the opportunity to show them during my residency what Cuban trained doctors can do. Last, I want to thank Dr. Ishmael Griffin for his support of all the Elam grads, and thanks to my parents and 4 other siblings who make up the Sales family. Thank you.
It's all family, yes. Okay, now we're going to ask another member of the IFCO Medical Advisory Committee, Dr. Mary Louise Patterson, to come forward with an announcement of the next award.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to go off script for a moment to say my OB/GYN doctor, well, no longer OB, but GYN doctor is Haitian American. And after the terrible earthquake, she brought her mother here to live. Her mother's house was destroyed. And her mother, while living here, went to the doctor and was told here, and this is Weill Cornell Hospital, that she had cancer. And so she came home and told her daughter, I'm going back to Haiti to see my Cuban doctor because I don't trust this doctor here. So she went back to Haiti and she saw her Cuban doctor, and the doctor told her that yes, she had a tumor. So a tumor just means a growth, right? It could mean any kind of growth. So she came back to New York and she told her daughter, see, I don't have cancer, I have a tumor. But anyway, that's the kind of faith, really, that people have around the world who are lucky to have doctors who have graduated from Cuba, the Cuban medical school, to have them believe in their doctors. So just want to thank Elam again. You know, it's an offer that the Cuban people made, that Fidel Castro made, to educate American students for free. All of you know this, right? 7-year course of medicine in Cuba, and it's all free. It's, you know, incredible. And so now a number of New York medical schools are now offering a limited number each of free scholarships to medical school. But Cuba's been doing this for almost 20 years, right? I would like to invite Dr. Joaquin Morante to come up.
I'll be accepting this for him. He's in Cuba right now.
Okay. So this award is for Dr. Joaquin Morante. He was born and raised in New York City. During high school, his participation in youth leadership programs laid the foundation for his interest in community organizing and empowerment. After graduating from Cornell University, he completed a post-baccalaureate program in pre-medical sciences from the City College of New York and went on to attend La Escuela Latinoamericana de Medicina, ELAM, in Cuba, graduating with the class of 2012. During his time in Cuba, Dr. Morante was involved in student engagement activities and maintained an additional apprenticeship in critical care during each of his 4 clinical years in the program. Currently, Dr. Morante is on staff at Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx as an attending physician in pulmonary medicine and critical care. He lives in the Bronx with his wife, Aida Alston, also a graduate of ELAM, and their 2 young children. We want to honor Dr. Joaquin Morante with the Lucius Walker Community Organizing Award for being a truly revolutionary doctor providing service to the community. So, Aida, his wife, is accepting this award for him on his behalf.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Aida Alston. I'm Joaquin's wife, and I also graduated from Elam. And Joaquin is actually in Cuba right now until tomorrow. He's helping the students who are still there with their residency preparation workshops. There's a lot that we need kind of word of mouth, in-person time to be able to actually understand what it's like to transition back. With talking with my other fellow graduate, Francis, the transition back is a really big deal, and 6 years in Cuba is life-changing for all of us who are there. We definitely do not come back the same, and it was transformational for me. It was transformational for all of us who were here, for Joaquin especially. And one of the things I've noticed about after tonight, you mentioned charismatic leaders. If anybody knows Joaquin, Joaquin is an incredibly charismatic person. Yet he also really does remind me a lot of the way that Lucius walked in the world. He incredibly unassuming as well, walks through any space, is a regular person, embodies completely what Cuban doctors have shown us, that doctors are not gods, that they are really people, and the best doctors are people who are of the community, living within the community where their patients are. And from us living in Brooklyn and him going doing his residency at Woodhull, and we lived down the street, and people seeing him, you know, walking to and from and being like, oh wait, you were just taking care of my family member at Woodhull. And now being in the Bronx, he has always embodied that kind of doctor. And wherever we go, at first it's almost strange when people are like, wait, you're a doctor? Like, they need to see his like credentials wherever we go. And he's like, no, seriously, I'm a doctor. But we've taken that to mean that we are showing a different example of what kinds of doctors that we can be. And is really, he embodies, as do all of us, embodies exactly what the U.S. has talked at times of trying to do, of being an actual representation in the flesh of people that other young, aspiring doctors can look up to and say, oh wow, that is actually someone that I can be, and I can still be me. If anyone knows Joaquin, he's from Cuba on, they tried to get him to cut his beard. He would never cut his beard. They called him, you know, like they said, the barbudos, like the, you know, the Cubans back in the day during Fidel's time. A lot of them had beards, and young Cubans don't do that anymore. Joaquin refused to cut his beard. He just embodied all of those years and continues until now to just be the same regular person that he was, and he's really proud to still be a part of the public health, the hospital system. And through his years, watching him go through residency and fellowship, he really has struggled out loud in making sure that where he chooses to do residency and training and for specialty training, and where he chooses to now be an attending, is actually what he was being set up to do leaving Cuba. And he wants to continue that as a conscious decision, knowing that you go out into other places and can make way more money. And he is choosing to be where he is and where we are, and be a Spanish-speaking doctor, be in the community where we are. We live 10 minutes from the hospital where he's at right now in the Bronx. It has been an incredible honor as his wife to also watch his growth, and to know that really without the support of everybody here, that none of this would have happened. And so we really want to thank the support that we've had from the beginning before even going down. We know that you all have our backs, and so we appreciate it. So on behalf of our family, on behalf of Joaquin, thank you very much.
Let's give her another hand. Let's give them all a hand again. Yes. All right. We are very proud of all of you. You know, you're representing. Okay, so next we're going to ask Gail to come up, who will do the honors and she'll announce that recipient, and that person will come forward.
So I just want to take a quick moment to just say thank you so much to Aisha and to Francis and to Joaquin and to Melissa and to Sitin Bailey and all of the Elam graduates for your tremendous, outstanding commitment to really do the work, to go study in Cuba, return and serve in the communities where we need you most. And it's a wonderful, wonderful program, and we're so proud of you, and proud of all of you, no matter how you plan to serve, but all of the doctors. So I just want to now ask you all to join me in welcoming somebody who was up here earlier tonight, our host. I hope she's still in the room, Judy Sheridan Gonzalez, to come forward. I was supposed to have given her a heads up. Judy Sheridan Gonzalez is the president of the New York State Nurses Association. And aside from providing this wonderful space for us to be here tonight, the NYSNA has really been a tremendous partner, I think, as was discussed earlier, in various social justice fights. And it makes sense, given the commitment that the organization has made to provide care, to provide health care for the community of New York State. We're grateful to hear of, come on up, Judy, come on up. Judy. Right. I was just talking, singing your praises, and the praises of NYSNA in general, and you in particular. We're just honored for the work that NYSNA has done, really standing at the forefront in the fight for healthcare advocacy, and setting a tremendous example of what it means to set not only high standards for the staff, but for the people of the state of New York, and doing that in such an honorable and principled way. And we have had the honor of being able to partner, and we want to continue to find different ways to expand that partnership. You know, for many of us, and this is in no disrespect to our sisters, I really am grateful to have had a chance to see you here as well, but many of us know Judy as the face of NYSNA. Now, she will never be the one, she will humbly go about her work. She'll never be the one to state that claim, but we are aware of the work that the organization has done on the local level and internationally in many ways because of the tremendous advocacy that Judy has put forward. And so we are honored at IFCO to recognize the work that NYSNA has done, and we recognize that this is the kind of work that my dad, Lucius Walker, would have most definitely been 110% behind. And for that reason, we want to honor NYSNA, New York Nurses Association, for the outstanding work at being an outstanding advocate. Excuse me. I apologize. I keep trying to talk to my friend here, but I was just saying we want to recognize NYSNA for standing at the vanguard for the fight for healthcare advocacy. Sorry, is that good?
Am I supposed to say something? Yes. I never refuse an opportunity to talk. Everyone knows that. I mean, it so totally takes a village. Even when you're recognized as a leader, you know that you are nothing without the people who work with you, support you, and do all the work. I mean, you're just one tiny little cog in a big wheel where everybody's pushing that wheel and pushing forward. And you know, there's nothing without the people. And we recognize how important it is to listen. Great organizers listen. They don't. I talk way too much, but I've had to learn over time that you really have to listen. And when you listen to people, you find out that so many of us are saying the same thing. And if we just listen to each other and are kind to each other, anything is possible. And we've learned that in NYSNA. Only 8 years ago, we transformed our organization, but we didn't do it alone. We did it with our comrades in other unions and in our communities and among our members, and the growth of our membership and the things that they're doing. I mean, there are so many unsung heroes in this organization. There's not enough time to even tell you about them. You know, people who are really quiet, and then you find out that they've gone all over the world and done things for other people, or they've gone in their communities and done things for other people, and they never ask for anything for it. It's just what we do as nurses. So
we embody the strength and the culture of our society in every way possible. And everyone in this room, the kind of good karma in this room just inspires us and keeps us going. So thank you all. This award belongs to everybody, not just Neisner. It really belongs to everybody. Thank you so much.
Haitian Women for Haitian Refugees is part of a litigation with NAACP that's currently suing this administration, and one of our honorees tonight, Naisha Vilme, is also a plaintiff on another lawsuit, Sage versus Trump, and there's a really the Ramos case is the one that we're all waiting for to hear results of any day that can decide whether or not we will be able to continue to have the status for over 50,000 Haitians and over 400,000 immigrants from 13 countries. So I want to talk a bit about Melissa Setut, who's been working with me for a few years at Haitian Women for Haitian Refugees. And I met her when she was in high school. And she basically, her mother was in our ESL class, and she told me about her, and I said, well, tell her to come on by. And immediately she became involved and started working in the immigrant rights movement. And what happened was that a lot of people go through high school and they don't know until it's time to graduate that they're not going to be able to go to college because of their immigration status. So there were some scholarships available. She got a Dream US scholarship, which allowed her to go to CUNY, and she just graduated in May. And she's working in the school systems here. And our other honoree, Naisha Vilme, also went through the CUNY system and graduated. She's now in grad school. I'm always proud to say she's working towards her PhD in clinical psychology. And so they both have been, while having to deal with worrying about their immigration status, they've been able to go through school, fight for other people that have TPS, and we've connected our movements with the Dreamers movement, and now we have legislation just passed in Congress that covers 800,000 Dreamers and people with DACA and 400,000 people with TPS. We're going to have a challenge trying to get it through the Senate, but meanwhile, these lawsuits is what have kept people in status, and so it takes a lot of boldness and for people to step up and come out and sue the government when you have all these challenges and you have to worry about being facing the threat of deportation. So I want to call up Naisha Vilme and Melissa Setut, who are immigrant rights community organizers that have been fighting. They've been going back and forth to DC with us and to California for the court cases and so forth. And say thank you for being so brave. And this plaque that we're presenting says, it's presented to the TPS Committee of Haitian Women for Haitian Refugees for boldly fighting the Trump administration's ongoing efforts to end temporary protective status with deepest appreciation from IFCO. Thank you. Hold the plaque. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Setut, and I'm very honored to be here tonight with all of you guys, and I thank you all for being here as well. Before anything, I would like to thank Minaj Raoul from Haitian Women for Haitian Refugees. As she said earlier, she met me when I graduated high school, and I wasn't able to go to college because I didn't know how I would pay for college. And with her guidance, she was able to help me get a scholarship and basically supported me throughout my whole college career, even after I graduated college. And now I work in a high school. Because of her, she was able to push me and basically introduced me into the to the TPS campaign, which I was able to do a lot of advocacy work, which I'm really proud of, because I'm a very shy person, so it's just a lot, and I'm just very proud of how far I've gone so far. And I'm here today to not only represent Haiti and also the 12 other countries who have TPS, and including the youths who are facing a lot of challenges with their families, youths who are also born here, basically citizens who are basically in fear because their families might get deported or just basically can lose their jobs. And I love the work that I do, and I intend to continue fighting for permanent residency, not only to save TPS, but permanent residency. And I just hope that everybody here can support us until we get what we need. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So my name is Naisha Villamay, and I want to thank all of you guys for being here, and thank you for. I feel very honored to stand in front of you guys and accept this award. And I want to thank Minaj definitely for presenting me to Haitian Women for Haitian Refugees, where I've done a lot of advocacy work with Melissa and other members. And I know we still have a long road ahead before we reach our goal, but with the support of everyone here, I know that we can reach it because we have made a lot of progress so far. And I know in my heart that it will happen. And I want to say that I plan to continue to fight against this administration driven by hatred, because a number of people, including myself, who is a TPS holder, is from a community where that has been targeted, a community that's been systematically oppressed and marginalized. Thank you.
All right, congratulations. And we will fight. Continue that fight. Okay. All right, before we move into the last a couple of others that we have, we know the time is moving quickly. I just want to let you know that over on the table, we have a silent auction going. We have Haitian folk art. It's a wall plaque. It's handmade. We have a bottle of Havana Club, which is 7 years old. We also have a book. It's Cuban art and history from 1868 to today. And we have a theater gift certificate that's good until December 31st, 2019. That's worth $50 from Hostos Theater. From Lehman College, we have a $100 theater gift certificate, and we have a framed poster of Lucius Walker. So you could quietly go over to the table. This is a silent auction. You could put in your bid, and let's hope that everybody takes away anything that you bid for. Okay, so I just need to let you know that, because we won't want to lose anybody before we leave, because we're off schedule a little bit here, but we're going to push forward. So at this point, I would like to ask another of our board members to come forward. We are getting young, and we were able to recruit a new member to our board, and we're very excited about that. We'll let him introduce himself, all the way from North Carolina, and studying for his PhD at the first year PhD candidate at the University of Michigan. So at this time, I'd like to ask Ajamu Delacourt to come and introduce the next awardee. Ajamu. And I recruited this one, so you have responsibility out there.
That is true. She did recruit me, and I had the opportunity to listen to Dr. Rosemary Mealy talk about her book, Malcolm and Fidel, Memories of a Meeting, at North Carolina Central University, which is a historically black college. I was an undergrad, and I was moved by her presentation. So thank you for recruiting me and for allowing me to be here. But before I introduce the next award recipient, I want to do a little chant. get the energy going, get people fired up. And so I know everyone knows this chant. So I'm going to say, what do we want? And you're going to say reparations. And I'm going to say, when do we want it? And you're going to say now. Okay? So what do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. We need a little more energy. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. All right. So I have the honor of introducing the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, also known as INCOBRA. And if anyone knows the history of IFCO, reparations is an important struggle to IFCO. In 1969, 2 years after we were founded, IFCO and Rev. Lucius Walker played an important role in the National Black Economic Development Conference in Detroit. And so today, to be able to honor INCOBRA enforces that the struggle for reparations is not something of the past. It is something that is critical to our organizing agenda today. And INCOBRA is doing that work. So if the representative from INCOBRA could please come forward and talk to us about their work. They were founded in 1987 and are the leading force in the struggle for reparations in the United States. But they don't just do it for the struggle of African descended people in the United States. They are connected internationally to people of African descent who are fighting for reparations. So please, INCOBRA. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Linda Roots, and I come to you to accept this award and to thank you from Maharishi Juwanza, our female co-chair of INCOBRA, and Cam Howard, our male co-chair of INCOBRA. And they're not here because this is a scheduled weekend for an INCOBRA board meeting to be able to define the work that's going to move us forward. And I was available. So as a former co-chair in New York City many years ago, I am honored to be here. And today for me personally has been such an overwhelmingly beautiful day. I started my day watching the female head pastor of First Corinthian Baptist Church on 116th Street be inducted as the first woman and definitely the first black woman president of New York Theological Seminary. I'm introduced by a young man named Ajamu, and it was a brother named Ajamu that I met when we were doing work for the World Conference Against Racism, who introduced me to INCOBRA. And I come after two young people, and the person who's my biggest inspiration now is my granddaughter, who hopefully will have the theme for INCOBRA's next meeting in Selma around Juneteenth time. And she just turned 16 when she was at the INCOBRA conference with me last summer. I said nothing, and I had to tell her to tell them she had only a month to go before she turned 14, because they invited her to be on committees they never asked me to be on. So I'm just pleased to know that there are young people who continue to do the work. And doing the work, in 1967 I was graduating, having been one of those kids that was bused for integration to white schools to get a better education. I remember Lucius Walker's name as being such a powerful force. I remember my colleagues or my classmates, parents, who taught me things about organizing in junior high and high school because their parents had been part of the union struggle. So things just seem to be coming around in a circle. And it's hard, it's really hard to labor for something that's so far in the future. But I think about a verse in the Bible that says, some will plant, some water, and others reap the harvest. And I believe my granddaughter's going to reap the harvest. And as my daughter, her mother, who went to South Africa with me to fight to get slavery recognized as being unjust, unfair, always a crime against humanity, and to encourage the U.S. as well as other countries to give African descendants and descendants of slavery reparations, and the United States government walked out, and it wasn't a Republican at the head, and they said never would they apologize and never would they give us reparations. And my granddaughter laughed with me along with her mother when we heard some of these candidates are talking about reparations. So we know that some plant. When you plant, the seed goes in, you can't see it anymore. And when you water and you feed it, you can't see it. But those that reap the harvest will see the work that all of us have done. So I invite you on behalf of the Board of INCOBRA to join us. It's a coalition. You will not lose your identity. This organization knows about reparations, and John Connors is not there, but he was the guy that carried HR 40 for us and kept trying to get it out there. It's just a study bill to study what enslavement has done to black people, what the current effects are, and why we need reparations. So we continue that campaign. We have INCOBRA Action 535. We will engage the 435 members of Congress and the 100 members of the Senate. To pass HR 40, we need you. And New York might like one of you to step up and revitalize the New York chapter. So INCOBRA.org will give you the information that you need. I'm honored to have been available, because that's all you have to be. Not smart, not intelligent, not beautiful, just available. And God will use you to do the work too. Thank you. Thanks.
Presented to INCOBRA, the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America, for advancing the struggle to win full reparations for black African descendants residing in the United States and its territories, with deepest appreciation, the Interreligious Foundation for Community Organizations.
Thank you. One quick last word. I've heard this so many times, be the change you want to be. I've always wanted speakers at events like this to be brief, so I hope I was that change. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ruth, for that. A couple of announcements. This is the program. I'm going to be quite transparent because we don't have much time left. There's a public hearing on New York City Council Resolution 1092 that's calling upon the President of the United States to lift the Cuban embargo and end the Cuban travel ban. This was introduced by Councilwoman Inez Barron and Idanes Rodriguez last week, so we need people to show up on Thursday, October 31st at City Hall, Broadway, and Chambers Street. Joan Gibbs out there has the flyer. Please, we want you there. All right. We have a lot of you went over there and you saw those lovely gifts and things that we have. So we're going to now have our chairman. Yesterday we nominated a new president of the board of IFCO, and that's Michael Johnson. Michael, would you stand so people can see you? And all of the audio stuff that's happening, that's Jennifer Wagner, who's also a member of our board and treasurer. So Jennifer, thank you. Okay, so Michael, come on up here.
This is what makes the work happen, when we all come together and not just put our bodies on the line, but also put our pockets on the line. It seems like I'm always the one to come and asking for money in these kind of gatherings, but I'm happy to be able to do it because it's so necessary to make sure that IFCO and the work we do, and everyone who's here are able to continue to do that work.
Two people who couldn't be with us tonight. We wanted to honor our dear friend Andres Gomez. Many of you know that Andres is a Cuban, has been living in the United States for many years, has been an activist at the forefront of the fight against the blockade. But what's really, I think, in many ways unique about the work that Andres is doing is that he's doing it from a very hostile territory, and that is Florida. He has been really a warrior in this fight for many, many years. And we wanted to honor him for his work to promote efforts to end the blockade of Cuba, particularly in Florida, among some of the most hostile forces in the country. And for this, we honor Andres for tirelessly promoting an end to the U.S. blockade of Cuba. And we have a special brief message from Andres, who couldn't be here tonight. He is actually already in Cuba to participate in the upcoming anti-imperialist conference that's taking place at the end of next week, November 1st to the 3rd, that Rosemary mentioned. Many of us are going to be heading to Havana to participate in that conference. And he's already there. And so I'm going to get a chance to actually present this award to him in Havana, but we wanted to ask him to send words of greetings. So we have a message from Andres.
I am very sorry that I have been unable to attend the awards event tonight in New York City to accept the Lucius Walker Award that you have given me this year. I am at the headquarters of our coalition, Alianza Martiana, and I would like to thank you very much for this honor that you have given me. I would like to also acknowledge a Joaquín Morante, compañero graduado del ELAM, and his work that he has been doing in New York City since his graduation. To all of you, thank you very much, and a lot of luck. Good night.
So it'll be an honor to be able to present this award to him in person when we were actually in Havana, but we didn't want to let the evening go without allowing Andres to have some words to share with us. The other very special award that I want to present tonight really goes to a person who fortifies, quality community-based healthcare in the United States. For more than a decade, Melissa Barber, who has served as IFCO's Elam Scholarship Program manager. She's really, been at the forefront of this program for more than a decade, has really helped to shape this program in such a unique and powerful and important way. It's unfortunate that she couldn't be with us tonight, but we didn't want the evening to go without lifting her up and recognizing her and the tremendous accomplishments and the tremendous work that she has done to help push this program forward. As a graduate of Elam and a passionate physician, a medical advocate, a healthcare provider, a caregiver, a teacher, Melissa has dedicated herself to supporting U.S. Elam students. She has had an unwavering advocacy for those students and has helped many of them to successfully navigate the U.S. medical system and to become the revolutionary doctors that Cuba has trained them to be. Not only allowing these graduates to proudly fulfill their dream of becoming a physician, but also benefiting underserved communities across the country. Melissa wears many different hats, as many of you know. So in addition to her working at IFCO and working to build the IFCO Elam Scholarship Program, Melissa has worked with families who have children with autism. She, among the many other things that occupy her time, she volunteers with South Bronx Unite, a local coalition committed to many things, including improving health conditions for the residents of that region of the New York City, including children living in the South Bronx. And she's been actively involved in a variety of different kinds of programs related to providing care for people across the board in many, many, many different ways. She has served as a mentor and a teacher. She's played a leadership role in her church. All of this as a full-time single parent of a teenage daughter. And anybody who's ever seen her with her daughter Delilah has really witnessed the incredible passion that she has for being a parent, but also the patience and the tenacity she has for really lifting her up in a way that I think is nothing short of miraculous. She does it as a mother, but she does it as somebody who really, cares deeply, not only for her child, but for all children. And the love that she brings to not only the work with her child, but her work in various areas of health is something that we really wanted to not end this evening without acknowledging and lifting up. I know many of you know Melissa, and I'm really sorry that she couldn't be here tonight, but I think it's really important that she know how much we appreciate and respect and admire the tremendous gift that she has given to not only IFCO, but has given to the numerous people that have come through our doors that have received this scholarship program, wholeheartedly that Cuba has had to offer. She does that as a graduate, but she does it also as someone who really truly cares about health. And many of us, including people who walk around the streets of 145th Street, come knocking on the doorbell. Is the doctor in? I kid you not. We've had people, I'm like, who is this guy? He knew that Melissa Barber was in. He wanted to see the doctor. So she's not been practicing medicine in the same way that other doctors might have been practicing, but she's practicing medicine in a very important and significant way. And we're so grateful that she has chosen to dedicate her time to be the manager of our medical scholarship program. We've been fortunate to have her talent and her commitment. And for that reason, we wanted to honor her with the Lucius Walker Community Organizing Award for helping to advance the vision of Fidel and Lucius to provide revolutionary doctors for underserved communities across the United States. Thank you so much. Thank you for extending our love to our dear sister, Melissa.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just want a special thanks to, you see all the lovely tablecloths you have there with the beautiful decorations and what have you. I would like our sister Ruby Sprout and her team from Riverside Church to please stand, because every year Ruby does the decorations. She brings a team with her, and we're so appreciative of that. Thank you so much. I mean, it's just so unique this year. The photographs, it's just beautiful. Thank you thank you so much. IFCO really loves you, Ruby. Just to close out, Joe, if you could come up and lead us in a circle of sharing and going forward in peace and struggle, brotherhood, sisterhood, peoplehood, humanhood. Thank you, Friendly, for your work, always being here, documenting everything. Nora Hammond over there, who always sets up our money-making devices. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming out tonight, and we'll see you next year. All right, thank you, Joe.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Let's pray for Cuba. Let's pray for IFCO. Let's pray for the heart and soul of everyone in this room that beats for justice. Let's give thanks that Jesus' middle name was justice. Let's give thanks for the calling to be strugglers for justice, and ask for strength and help from each other and from our God. Amen.
You're going to come back again?
Yeah.